Happy Sunday, America. 2-5's back. Sports Reports is ordered. Few things to get off my mind today. So let's get into it. So, a lot of college football aficionados have been talking about the Pac-12 lately. I've been talking about the Pac-12, talking about this TV deal that still hasn't come. And in the meantime, the ACC has added some basketball and football games onto the CW, which you remember I was clowning the Pac-12 for even talking to. But the difference is that the Pac-12 is looking at throwing like most of their football at the very, I would think, onto the CW. But we'll see how all that pans out. But as we've been talking about the Pac-12, there's somebody in the background that has not been mentioned, and her name is the Mountain West Conference. So I look back at this, right? And I look at the AAC. They expanded, they added the 6 schools, FAU, Rice, North Texas, Charlotte, UTSA, and so on and so forth, right? So, but what's the common theme? Media markets. Because if all else fails, the thought is they have eyeballs that will turn into AAC fans that will boost the conference. So as we look at the Pac-12 potentially expanding, we talk about San Diego State being the front runner. We talk about SMU, and then lately there's been some talk of Tulane. Nothing against Tulane, but if the survivability of your conference relies on Tulane, you're already dead. But with that being said, let's look at this. Let's flesh this out. So in the Mountain West, if San Diego State ends up leaving, we already got this whole acrimonious battle between them and the conference as is. The thought is that if you're the Pac-12, you get that Southern California market back that leaves when Trojan Angeles and UCLA leaves for the Big Ten next year. Makes sense. It makes sense to me. If the Big 12 takes San Diego State just on some, I'm going to undercut the Pac-12. You didn't want to merge with us, off with your head. But now that I look at the Mountain West, let's just say San Diego State leaves. What do you got left? You got what? Laramie, Wyoming, Fort Collins, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Logan, Utah. I mean, does any of that sound appealing to any of you? I mean, yeah, you still got Vegas, but potentially UNLV could be a Pac-12 candidate. So looking at this, I remember a few years ago, San Diego State, Boise, depending on what you believe, Colorado State and Air Force were talking to the AAC about membership. Obviously, it fell apart. Boise came back to the Mountain West and had to plead and, speak the case for San Diego State to be involved again. So I wonder if there's a little bit of shrapnel left behind from that situation between the Mountain West and San Diego State, where their relationship may have been a little torn, to say the least. But forgetting all that for a second, if San Diego State were to leave and go to the Pac-12, what's left for the Mountain West? You got a big market like San Jose. Fresno's a pretty big city, but obviously they don't move the needle eyeball-wise. If you're the Pac-12, do you look at bringing in Fresno along with San Diego State? Probably not, but it's an option. Maybe you bring in Vegas just to get a new market, right? But with that being said, what's left? If you're Air Force, are you content with that? Maybe. I don't know if Air Force wants to go through the rigors of the travel between the AAC, traveling down to San Antonio, traveling all the way over to Birmingham, traveling to Charlotte. That may not be an option. But as we get into this new era of college football playoff, you got to figure the AAC is going to be at the front of the line as far as the G5 representation of the playoffs. CUSA ain't going to be it. And if SMU leaves, what's to stop the AAC from grabbing, say, Liberty? Big endowment. I ain't going to get into the shady practices of the school and its founders and all that kind of stuff. But they are a money pit. They could be the East Coast version of BYU. Oh, by the way, What would the Pac-12 have been if they invited, say, BYU and Houston back in 2018 or 2019? Maybe we wouldn't even be here right now. But alas, we are. So, with that being said, is the Mountain West next on the chopping block? There's been some rumors about Fresno to the Big 12 as well. Maybe the Big 12 is looking into getting into California, because even if they add the four corner schools, you got Colorado, so you get Denver, you get Utah, Salt Lake City, even though Salt Lake City isn't as big as you would think it is. Then, you get Tempe and Tucson. Still not California. Is it good enough? Time will tell. Mountain West is death imminent. In my eyes, death is certain. Peace.